Hey everyone, so my name is Josh Black, and in this video we're going to talk about higher order functions, and specifically we're going to talk about a subset of them called function decorators. And just in case you need a refresher, higher order functions are simply just functions that take in other functions and return a function. That's basically all they are. This could result in an increase in behavior of the function that they give in the case of a function decorator, or maybe you could write other functions that will add special cases such as compose, which will take in two functions. It'll return a function that takes in an argument, and in the end it'll call A onto the results of B called on C, like this, just like in math school. So you could have a function that is called add2, and this is going to be a function that takes in, or here, I'll write it this way. So you could say that we have a function called add2, which takes in a value, and it will return the value plus 2. We could have a function called times2, which takes in a value and returns the value times 2. And so we can use compose and almost make a new function called add2 and times2, and we can compose add2 and times2 together. And then let's see what happens when we call add2 and times2. Let me fix my spelling. Times2 on 2. We'll actually get the result 6. We could do 4. 40, etc. And this is a composition. So compose in this case is a higher order function. What we're going to talk about specifically in this video is something called a function decorator. And a function decorator is just going to take in a function and then return a function that's going to be fairly similar to the input function, but it's going to add either new functionality or new behavior to the input function. And I think a good example of that is a function called fluent, which will take in a function, and then it will return a function. We'll use rest here to grab all the arguments that it takes. And here we'll say function.apply this with the args, and then we'll actually return this. And so what this will allow us to do is use that common Fluent API that jQuery was famous for, where we could do, method.method2.method3, so on and so forth. And that's what this this function decorator is actually going to do. So just as a brief example for this, let's go ahead and make a class in ES5. We'll make a person class, and on its prototype we'll make a function called setName that's going to take in a first and a last name, for example. And here we'll say this.first is going to be equal to first, this.last is equal to last. Let's add another method real quick onto the prototype called sayName. This is just going to be, here, let's fix that to camel case. This is just going to be a function that will log out this.first and this.last. So just like always, you could say that P is a new person. We'll say P.setName is going to be Jane Doe. P.sayName, and in the log we'll see Jane Doe comes out. But we can't right now, we can't go ahead and chain them. We'll actually get an error because it says cannot read property same name of undefined. SetName doesn't return anything, so there's nothing for it to read off of. What's cool about this function decorator is that if we wanted this chainable interface into our person class, all we would have to do is wrap Fluent around this function. And you'll see that we got our Jane Doe again. So let's try and set the name after we say the name to John Doe. And we'll see that we get the same problem where it says we cannot read set name off of undefined. Well, this isn't a Fluent interface yet, so let's do the same thing where we'll wrap the function in Fluent, and we'll see that it fixed. And we can actually repeat this chain, so on and so forth. We can even call a same name right here, and it'll read John Doe. So this is Fluent here is an example of a function decorator, and we can actually decorate functions on the person prototype with this method and create a really cool abstraction that can be applied in a variety of ways. Some other function decorators that are commonly applied could be ones like once, ones like debounce, maybe memo-wise, and then obviously Fluent. And there's so many more and so many more that you can write if you are so interested in pursuing useful function decorators. So for the next part, let's go ahead and talk about ES6. And in ES6, we get access to a person class like this. And this class in ES6 is just syntactic sugar for what we made before. So we can go into here and make a setName function again and say this dot first equals, first, this dot last is equal to last. We can do the same thing with same name, console.log, this dot first, this dot last. Let's go and create our person again. We'll set their name again to Jane Doe. Say their name. And there we go. Jane Doe works. Our class, our person class actually works. And so this is just syntactic sugar once again for that prototype base class that was the example in ES5. The set name with the parentheses first last is just shorthand for set name function first last. This is an ES6 feature for function shorthands. And these exist on the prototype chain of person. But now we have a problem. If I wanted to make this a Fluent interface, how can I get this to work? There's not really a place where I can wrap Fluent around this. Like, that just won't work. And that's where the idea of decorators came from in ES7. So decorators is an ES7 proposal that will allow you to write at and then a decorator name right before a function or even a class in ES6. And it will allow you to change functionality of that function in the same way that our function decorators worked over here. So let's write a really quick function decorator that will mimic that Fluent interface that we had before. And so a decorator method will take in a target, a name, and a descriptor. And it will actually, I'll actually log out the target, the name, and the descriptor right here, just so you can see what they are. And so I'll just call @decorate on this method, and I'll also comment this out so we don't get those errors. And so you'll see that the target of this decorator will be person, or our person class. The name is going to be the name of the method, and then this descriptor object is actually going to be the value of this key on the person object, or in this case a class. And it will say, hey, is this thing changeable or configurable? Is this an enumerable property? Like, will it show up when I iterate through the keys of this class? And then the fun part that we get to mess around with, sorry about that. The fun part that we get to mess around with is this function value that sets a name, or that's the functionality of our method. And this is what we get to change. So we could save what the value of this function is by doing fn equals descriptor.value. We'll hold a reference to it basically. And then to decorate its functionality, we can actually set the value of descriptor.value to another function. It'll capture all the args again. And here we could say function.apply target, which will be the this property, and then the arguments, and then we'll just return the target. And so when we decorate it like this, and we run the code, we'll see that it actually works again. We get our Jane Doe. So let's try and set our name after that to John Doe. And we'll get that same kind of error that we had before. What's nice about this decorator is we can do the same thing and say decorate on it, and we see that it works. I can say the name just like before, and there we go. We have our Fluent chaining UI interface right now on this person class. This is all well and great, but it would be nice if we could reuse this function decorator that we had before on these classes now, and there actually is a way. We could write a function called decorate with that'll take in a function, and this will just return target name descriptor. Inside of here, we'll say that the descriptor.value is going to be equal to the function, or I'll change it. This is actually going to be a decorator. We'll call it a decorator, and then we're going to have a decorator.call target with this value, and then descriptor.value right here. And so now we could say decorate with Fluent, decorate with Fluent, and it works all over again. And that's it. That's a very brief overview of decorators for ES6 classes. And now we can abstract pieces away to use the function decorators that we knew before, wrap them in this decorate with function, and then apply them to methods on the person class. So I hope that all was valuable. I hope you all learned a little bit more about how these work and maybe got ideas for adding them into your own projects. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Thanks.